Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. Today we got a Benz W124 in the garage. This is the first time I'm going to work on a W124. I have done quite a lot of work on W123 models, the older one, the model that came before this. And I'm not a huge fan of those, I might say. It's a nice car for sure, but it's just they're getting so old and so rusty, and everything is built very sturdy, which also makes them a bit tough to work on. Maybe I'm a bit biased because the last thing I did on a W123 was changing the front springs, and that is just a near-death experience to do. I would really, if you are doing it yourself like me, make sure you know the task before going into changing the springs on those, or get someone who knows what they're doing to do it, because there is a lot of tension involved. You should never use small outside clamps for those. Remember that. This car is a friend of mine's, actually the same guy who owns the Acadian, the blue one I did some work on last year. But he is having one big issue that he's really annoyed about, because this is, compared to his other cars, a very luxury car, and it is, at least back in the days. And he really liked the calmness and the smoothness that this ride actually gives. But in idle, the car is not smooth. The engine is jumping about in idle and is rocking from side to side. It's almost like it's misfiring on one of the cylinders, and it's only at idle. It drives fine when you give it a little bit of throttle. So that is what we're going to try to fix. I actually think he tried to have a mechanic take a look at it, but it didn't work. But I am already having a hunch about what this most likely is, because very often on cars like these, they will develop some kind of vacuum leak, and a vacuum leak gives weird idle and some other drivability issues, and it can be many things, and especially on a bit complicated car like this with a lot of hoses and small pipes, it just tends to rip and perish and let in unmetered air, which is the problem of this, because there is a thingy. It's not called a thingy. It's called, I think it's a SIS system or digifan or something. I'm not really sure what kind of system this one drives. It's a Bosch injection system, and there is a plate that moves with airflow, and that tells the ECU what kind of mixture the car is needing because of the air. So if this is metering some air, and air is getting in behind this metering device, then more air will be in the system than the car actually believes, and then it will begin to try to fix that problem using the O2 sensor, and it's just not good. So I think it's going to be the case, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to check for that and how I'm going to try to find it. It could also be the inlet manifold that is leaking, but and it could be many other things. I haven't done a lot of work on these engines, so it could be a very common thing that we'll see. I'm going to try to find out what it is. And I have actually just taken this car for a little drive, and a bit to my surprise, I really like this car. Actually, I have already looked through the internet for cheap ones, but I'm not. I should really stop buying cars and get the cars that I already own to work. And yeah, because there's the Volvo outside here, and the Cinquecento, and the Skoda is outside at the moment. And I got a lot of cars and a lot of projects, but this car is a lot more nicer than I actually thought it would be. I really like the interior, and I really like the way it drives. And there's something about that star in the front. This is a bit surprising for me, because my main interest is small hatchbacks with a lot of power, and this is a big, old, slumbering vehicle. It's not very quick, and but yeah, still I like it. I have a soft spot for those kind of cars. No, really, I just like cars. That's the main thing. The interior on these are pretty nice. The old W123 is a bit more old school and more cool in my opinion. But this is not bad either, not at all. I really like it. Especially the instrument cluster up there is pretty cool. And also being an estate, it's pretty versatile. Yeah, it is pretty much like the Volvo, but it's a bit more smooth driving, I think, and that is most likely due to the SLS system, which I'm also going to do some work on, not in this video, but of course, as always, having something hydraulic, something will leak. It's just a, I think it's a heritage thing from the Citroëns, actually. Anyway, that is not what we are going to take a look at today. Today, we're going to try to fix the idle issue. Whoop. I'm gonna start the engine up and film the engine. I don't know how well it is going to pick up because vibrations tends to be a bit difficult to catch on camera. But maybe the sound will tell you, will show the issue. Take a look at this. This car is from 1989, and considering the Skoda is from 1986, yeah, this just one of those cars that really shows the difference in I won't say quality, but just the way they are built. Stuff like this. This is a manual, which is a bit rare, I think, because most of these are automatic. And most of these are old cabs also, not the estate ones, I think, but yeah. It's just a completely different world than the Skoda or even the Cinquecento coming 10 years later. Anyway, let's start it. For the first few, the engine is hot at the moment. But for the first few seconds, it will have a raised idle, and it won't show the vibration issues while the idle is raised. It should drop within a few seconds, I think. Yeah, there we go. It goes down. And I don't know if it picks up on the microphone, but the sound of the engine is now very rough. Maybe you can hear it on the exhaust. But either way, maybe you can see the engine is rocking. I don't know if it picks up. I can raise the idle a little bit with my hands over here, and then I can make the vibration go away. Now it's pretty smooth, and now it's rocking again. Maybe you can see it on the spark plug leads actually. And it's not supposed to be this rough. I suspect we are having a vacuum leak, so what I'm going to do to check for that is to use some carb cleaner. And I'm going to spray around the area of the inlet manifold and the hoses and see if the idle changes. Because if it do, then we have found a leak, and we'll have to check that further. Doing this method, be very careful because it's flammable liquid. That is why the idle changes. So you do not want to have anything that can ignite it. I don't know if you could hear that. But the idle is changing when I squirt brake cleaner down here. So I think we are having a vacuum leak. I'm gonna switch it off. So I'm gonna take this filter box off the car to get better access. There's a bolt down here that I have removed. Then there is two over here that is already sheared off. not by me, but should actually be possible to just take this stuff off and then remove the filter assembly. That was pretty easy. Take a look at this. The air filter assembly for the Benz is filling the entire engine bay of the Lancia. Yeah, there is a bit of a size difference, but they are pretty much from the same year. So you could go and buy this one or this one at the same time. Pretty weird. Anyway, I need a flashlight. I am in a need of more flashlights because I only have one working left. I dropped my best one in a bucket of oil the other day and it didn't like it. So, as you can see, there is a lot of hoses and lines and stuff that can leak. I cannot really see anything wrong just by eye. So I'm gonna start it up again and see if I can find something. I think we have something here. There's something wrong with this hose. I think we found the problem. There is definitely something wrong with this hose right here. Yeah, there is some markings, some scrape marks, and a big, yeah, it's broken many places actually. I'm gonna take this one off to inspect it further. So I have actually glued the parts back together and reinforced it with some extremely strong glue on the outside as well. So actually I just glued the parts together with contact glue and then this black stuff all around. And granted, this is a temporary fix because I don't have one of these lying around, but this repair could end up lasting as long as the rest of the car, to be honest. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but this is a pretty strong repair. But the best thing would be to get a new one because it is brittle and the next crack or hole is waiting to happen. So I'm gonna install this back on the car and see if it fixes our problem. So the hose is back on and it is acting differently now. And nothing happens when I touch this one that we fixed. But the idle is still rough. And I'm suspecting we still have an issue around here. Let's check. Nothing really. What about this injector? It seems a bit loose actually. Something is wrong with this injector. I don't really know how they are supposed to be fitted, but this, I can pull it out, making the engine very rough, and then push it in, and then it runs fine again. We've got a massive air leak here as well. What about the next one? That's stuck. There's definitely something wrong with this one. Take a look at it. Can you see it? That can't be right. So I have taken out this nut right here, holding the clamp that is clamping the injector, and taking off the fuel rail, or what's the connection, of course. Remember, there's pressure in the system, so it's a good thing to discharge it through the Schrader valve, or be careful when taking stuff apart. So here we have the injector. I don't think it was seated right. I think I'm just going to try to put it all back together and see if it is more tightly sealed. This is one of those engine bays where you really do not want to drop anything, because there's not a lot of room, and there is a big plastic tray underneath the engine, so everything you drop will end up there or in the engine somewhere. It is still a bit loose, so I'm just going to take that bracket thingy off again, because maybe the bracket is bent and not applying pressure to the rubber. So I have taken the bracket off. It's right here. And just to show you how it's supposed to work, the injector goes into the inlet, and then this is pushing down on the rubber and crushing, or not crushing, but squeezing it against the block and sealing. But I think what has happened is that this has been fatigued, or maybe tightened up too much at some point. But look at the shape, it's a bit banana-like. That means that it won't clamp as hard. So what I'm going to try to do now is to bend it straight, because that will give a lot more clamping force. I'm going to bend it a bit more than I want, because it will spring back a little bit. Yeah, this. I seriously hate this thingy. I should really fix it. It's just because it's missing one stopping nut on this side, so each and every time it goes like this, it falls down. Very annoying. So now I actually overdid it a little bit, but I think it will be all right, because now it's banana shaping the other way. But that should give me a lot more clamping force. So I'm going to fit this to the car, and hopefully the injector will be sealing. And the injector is back in the car, and the clamp is attached, and I have tightened it up. And take a look at this. Now the injector is completely stuck in position. There's no movement other than the rubber that I can make it. Of course, there is some movement because it's situated in rubber, but not in and out like before. So I'm pretty sure we got the issue fixed now. I'm gonna tighten everything up again. Oh, and a small thing, do not get any dirt into the injector. That will be problematic, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm gonna fix the rest up, and then we're just gonna try to start the engine and see if it makes a difference. I'm pretty sure that this is going to fix everything. There was the hose that we fixed to begin with. That was an issue, but that was not the big deal. This was the big deal, that's for sure. And I think the reason why this was only present at idle is because at idle the vacuum is not that high. When you give the engine just a little bit of revs, it will create a bigger vacuum, sucking the injector and seal down into the bore and sealing. So it was only when the vacuum was low, I believe. That's my theory, at least. So I'm going to put it all back, and then we're going to start it up. The air filter is back on. Let's start it up and see if it makes a difference. I am almost completely sure it will, but you never know on old cars. Maybe I have made another problem. It will not run right for the first seconds because there is air in the fuel system. So it just needs to cough all the air out, because we opened the lines, of course. Now it's fine. Now we'll just have to wait for the revs to drop. There we go, low idle. Let's see. Listen to the exhaust first. Wow, it's sounding a lot better. And let's check up here. And again, I don't know if it picks up, maybe on the spark plug. It is not vibrating at all as much as it was before. It is pretty smooth now. That's pretty nice. Let's do the test with the brake cleaner real quick, just to see. It makes absolutely no difference. This is a fix. So we got the problem fixed, and now the idle is smooth. I'm going to fix some other stuff on this car. I don't think I'm going to film that. There is a leak in the SLS self-leveling system, and it needs a new fuel filter and stuff like that. And it's not my car, but I really enjoy working on cars like this, and I really enjoy trying to fix problems like this. It's like a mind puzzle for me, and that's the reason I do it, because it's just for fun. So even though I'm no mechanic and no expert, and maybe this was just pure luck, maybe the video could help others with this kind of issues. I've heard that a lot of people are having issues with the idle on these cars. It could be many other things, but this is just a possibility to check. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share my videos if you like them, and see you in the next one.